Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Brass Gaming. I'm your host, Christian, and I'm here alongside my co-host here,
Espen.
And today we're going to talk to you guys about competitive EDH. So some of you may be asking, what is cEDH? Well, I just said what it is, but Espen, do you want to dive a little bit more into what cEDH is?
Yeah, so cEDH stands for Competitive Elder Dragon Highlander, or much simply, Competitive Commander.
And so, with it being competitive, there's a lot of stigma and a lot of stuff that's around it. And I think we're here today to try to give a little our take and our view on competitive commander. So a little bit about my personal thoughts. I think cEDH is a lot of fun. I love the early and interactive gameplay. I just like comboing off and getting my combo as quickly as possible. I'm not a big fan of the hour and a half gameplay, but I do play a deck that can last the game that long. Espen, do you have any thoughts on cEDH?
I think cEDH is actually a fantastic format. I am more of a casual commander player myself, but I do enjoy some cEDH games here and there, just to have a quick game so you can get more games in, more people can do their thing, combo off, and I think it's blast if you find the right group and build the right decks. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I notice a lot with our personal play group that a lot of us that play cEDH, we just don't like dragging on for an hour and a half and playing the mindless, stalled out board states, because a lot of us, for the most part, know that we're going to do this combo, we're going to do this certain set of actions that's going to either get us to where we want to be or we're going to lose. And I think that's what is the nice part about cEDH is, for the most part, you can determine when you're going to lose and when to scoop accordingly. I think that's the most fun part about Commander is knowing your win, knowing you're going to lose, and being able to scoop and go on to another game. And a lot of the combos that I personally play are pretty much when you're going to win and you know when you're going to lose. And I know that instead of sitting around the board for an 2-hour game, I know that I can just pick up my deck and say, okay, well, it's time for me to go on another game. And we'll say this, there's nothing wrong with playing casual. Like my co-host here said, Espen, is we like playing both for the most part. Me and our director behind the camera here, we both have cEDH decks made. We'll get to that in a little bit. Our producer, who's also behind the camera today, he is working on a cEDH deck, and our play group, I would say, has a higher power level, mainly around between 8 to 10 for the most part. I think a lot of us like the 7 to 10 decks, but a lot of us just like having the stronger type of gameplay. You have any thoughts on that, Espen?
Right. Just like going back onto that. As said before, I enjoy casual commander a lot, and cEDH, as stated before, is really nice to combo off and do all those fun things, which is why I am actually working on a cEDH deck myself, so I can get up to there. I have one that kind of sticks with it, but we'll get into more of those specifics later on in the episode.
Absolutely. And I think I just want to preface this. There's nothing wrong with how you play Commander. Everyone likes the game differently, and I think that's the nice part about Commander as a format in general, is that there's many ways that you could play Commander, and there's no wrong way to play it, but don't demonize us for playing cEDH, and we won't demonize you for playing Commander, or casual Commander. And, I think that's the nice part about Magic in general, is there's a variety of formats. There's a variety of things that we can do that will all make us happy. Here at Brass Game, we all play many different formats, and we'll get into that a little bit later on this episode. But Commander is all of our favorite formats. We went into this endeavor thinking, hey, we're going to focus on a lot of different formats, but we're also going to make sure that Commander, being me and Espen's both of our favorite, is a big part of the podcast. And we think cEDH is probably the most interesting, at least in my view. The games don't take too long. Everyone knows their objective and what they're trying to get to. And I think that's a nice, refreshing take from the more casual, between, the 5s, the 6s, the 4s. I think those games can kind of get can go a little long, and I think sometimes people lose focus with what they're trying to do, and I think it just gets to the point where the board state gets really gummed up and a board wipe happens, and it's a lot of rebuilding. And with especially my deck I'm going to talk about a little later, Anye, I know when I'm going to win, I know I'm going to lose, and it's not an insult to you if I scoop, it's just I know that I've lost, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to scoop when it's my turn, and you guys can continue. And I think that is really refreshing for me to be able to do, instead of sitting around for 2 hours unsure if I have a chance or not sure. And I think that's my favorite part about cEDH personally, is that everyone has the opportunity to know when they're going to lose, know when they're going to win, and can scoop or continue playing accordingly. So Espen, I know you play a Tasker deck, and what are some things you like about that? I know that's more control than the deck that I like to play, and we'll get into the archetypes here in a minute, but like, what about Tasker do you like?
Tasker is just a all-around fantastic deck, in my opinion. It's not too competitive for some casual players, but it's also like it can keep up with some of the cEDH decks. So there's some control aspects to decide what will happen or what won't happen in the game. So if you want a game to go on longer, you might let a couple spells resolve here and there just for the aspect of having fun. Or in cEDH, you want to try to stop your opponents from comboing off and getting to your win con later on, later in the game, which is just fun because it is very versatile in the play style and what you can do with it and how you play in the politics in it. It's just a blast. Like, no two games are the same with it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest knocks, and I think you'd agree with me on this, Espen, is that a lot of cEDH decks, people view it as it's one note.
Right.
There's one way that it goes, and yes, that's true for a lot of combo decks, but I think getting there is the fun part. And like with the Anye deck I mentioned earlier, while there's typically one reliable combo with a deck, I find getting there is unique and is a fun aspect. And of course, there's certain things that I could tutor for, that I could search for, that get me there the same way. I think that putting Anye on the battlefield and madnessing away your cards is just a whole lot of fun, and I think the variance that the deck gives you while being very consistent. And that's the key part about cEDH that I like. I like the consistency and how relatively easily the games move along when everyone's on the same page. And I think that's something we want to stress to you guys too, is make sure if you're going to play a cEDH deck, you're planning on building cEDH, is that you communicate with your play groups accordingly. With our group, it's understood that me, our director for today, Hayden, we both have probably 9 to 10 cEDH decks. And when we sit down at the table, we let everyone know, hey, we're playing these strong decks. And at the most part, everyone is adjusted at this point. Our producer here today, who's also behind the camera, Mike, he has not built a cEDH per se yet, but he still plays with us and he enjoys it, because the time that he wins, he's got the bragging rights to say, hey, I just beat 2 really powerful decks. And I think that's what's nice about cEDH too, is that when you end up beating those decks with a 7 or an 8, it feels good to just win the game and say, hey, look, I just took a game off of 2 very powerful decks with my 7 or 8. And I think that's really rewarding. I know it certainly is for me. Espen, is there anything that you think is interesting about cEDH besides, maybe I know you play on a relatively lower power level, maybe a 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
I would say your Tasker deck's probably about a 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel when you beat a cEDH deck?
I will say that beating a cEDH deck, it feels really good, especially when you build your own like homebrew deck and you bring your own ideas together to the table. And when you beat your cEDH or when you beat your opponent's cEDH deck, it's lots of fun to be like, yes, my idea worked. We got there. This goofy combo or this like fun and alternative win con, which for a while, fun fact, I had a deck which the only win cons was alternative win cons. Had 10 cards with alternative win cons, and it wasn't the best, but hey, it was the most fun. And as you said before, it when you win with a deck like that against cEDH, it just feels so rewarding.
Absolutely, and I think I think the most important part about this we want to stress is make sure you're communicating with your play group. You know, we would hate to people take our advice and go build a cEDH deck, which we encourage you to do. For me personally, I haven't had more fun in Commander in a long time. I think if you like consistent gameplay, cEDH may be for you, but if you like some variants, cEDH may not be for you. So well, getting off the topic of our thoughts, I think we'll move to something that you guys might find a little more interesting. We're going to talk about some of the more prevalent archetypes in cEDH. And a resource that me and Espen and a lot of us use in our play group is the cEDH decklist database. And on this database online, you can find a lot of interesting tools and deck lists for building a cEDH deck. Now, on that website, they have their archetypes split into 3 things. They have proactive, disruptive, and adaptive decks. And we'll just briefly go over that. And this is, quote, word from the deck list database. So we'll start off with proactive, and we'll give some examples. So proactive, these deck lists rarely prioritize disrupting opponents over finding win cons and or playing value engines. They are not necessarily fast, but they are unlikely to switch focus to disruption. So some decks that this encompasses is my Anya Madness deck would be proactive, Selvala Brostorm, which is another popular deck, and Shimmer Zur, which if you've ever played against Zur, you know how much of a nightmare that can be. So Espen, what is the next archetype?
So the next archetype that we will cover is disruptive. Now, the disruptive deck list, they focus on preventing opponents from winning or gaining board presence before spending resources on win cons with weird expectations. And just some examples of these decks are the Brago Stacks, Shuffle Atla, and Kenrith Consultation, which I am hoping to one day build up.
Absolutely. And so the third and final archetype that they have listed is adaptive. Now, these deck lists often switch between proactive and disruptive based plans based on matchups or draws, and employ tools which allow for both winning early and grinding late. Some of the decks that this encompasses is Honorless Marin, Blue Pod, and Najila Tempo. We're not going to be going into the specifics of any of these decks. We welcome you to use the deck list database to learn the commons, the combos, and how they commonly win, and various other aspects of these decks. There was a few things that we wanted to address that we know anyone that's watching in the future or is watching now, a problem that a lot of people see, and that's Flash Hulk. A lot of people have been calling for the ban of the card Flash, and hopefully it's on screen for you now. You'll see Flash is essentially a card that lets you put in the card Protein Hulk for a blue and a colorless, and then you don't pay the additional mana, and you sacrifice the Protein Hulk, and you tutor up there's many different combinations of cards that you can tutor up with when Protein Hulk dies. And pretty much the end game is to win as quickly as possible. In the thumbnail of this episode, we're going to have a hand that shows you like the ideal turn 1 Protein or Flash Hulk hand, which very consistently wins on turn 1. And while me or Espen per se don't like turn 1 wins, I don't think there's anything wrong with it necessarily. I think it's fine if you do it in moderation. Turn winning can be a lot of fun and it's exhilarating, but if your whole goal is to always win turn 1, I don't know. I just personally think that can get kind of redundant and boring over and over again. What do you think, Espen?
Yeah, you're right. When your opponent is like doing, I'm gonna go Flash, I'm gonna go Protein Hulk and get this, you're like, oh, okay, and then you go to the next game and they're gonna go Flash Protein Hulk, and of course they're not going to have the turn 1 every time, but like when you play with them consistently and they do that to you multiple times over, you're just like, okay, but when you do every once in a while, or if you are doing it yourself, it is just like, you're doing your thing, you're comboing off, you're winning the game, which is always a rewarding feel, and yeah, it's just lots of fun.
There's a lot of like important cards, and I feel like that Flash Hulk gets a bad rap, which may or may not be well deserved, and that's for you guys to decide. It's not for us to choose for you. Right. So we just wanted to highlight some important cards. What we're going to cover next is some basic tutors. So this is nothing new. You guys all know about tutors if you play Commander. There's your Vampiric Tutor, Imperial Seal, Demonic Tutor, Diabolic Tutor. There's a ton of them that you could pick from. And these are obviously very important to regular Commander for the most part, but they're also very important into cEDH. And it's just making your deck all that more consistent and setting up for that turn 2 to 4 win. And that's what Anya Madness likes to do. Is if you don't have an early tutor piece, you hope you have a lot of Madness cards and you just go to town. And I'm sure we're gonna have a future episode on the Anya deck because that is my pet deck and my personal favorite deck.
Yes, it is.
So another thing we want to cover is fast mana rocks. And Espen, what are some important fast mana rocks? I know we have like our mana crypts. What else do you think is important when it comes to that?
So you have your mana vault, you have your grim monolith, and then of course you always have the famous turn 1 soul ring, which actually there is a group of some people where they tend to be, I believe, more casual Commander players that think that fast mana rocks are bad or unhealthy. Now they are very healthy for cEDH, yeah. So you can pop off faster. But for some of the more casual games, some people believe it to be unfair or like they didn't have the extra money to get that mana crypt, that mana vault or whatnot. Like, what do you think about that?
I think a lot of the argument for the fast mana rocks is that a lot of them are very cost prohibitive, and what I mean by that is Mana Crypt is it's at around $200. It might be a little less, might be a little more at this point, and who knows. Your Chrome Mox, for example, another very popular one, at the $40 range. Your Mox Diamond is at the $200 range, I believe. And all these really good, really fast mana rocks are very cost prohibitive, and I would argue that Soul Ring would also be very expensive if it wasn't reprinted in every single precon that Wizards of the Coast makes.
Very true. Yeah.
Now, I think that if you're going to invest into these, make sure you're investing smart and carefully, and don't just buy them for your Vorthos deck, unless you really, really like that deck and you want to power it up a little bit. I think a lot of these should be thoughtful investments, and if you have them from years ago, then that's great. Use them. I just think you should be responsible when spending that much money on a piece of cardboard. In my Anya Madness deck, I have an Imperial Seal and I have a Mana Crypt, couple of the $200 plus cards, and that was a debate even for me, and I was intending on making her the cEDH deck. And for those who keep up with prices, Imperial Seal recently spiked in price, and it's even more expensive than it's ever been to invest in one of those. And while I've noticed it gives my deck a higher percentage chance of winning, I think I could reasonably go without it. I don't think I need it, but I think that's an important thing to remember is we're talking about cEDH. These cards are very vital for the start of a cEDH turn. Ideally in cEDH, I would argue you want to, unless you're playing a stacks or disruptive deck, if you're playing a proactive or adaptive deck even, you might want to win between turns 1 and 5. And while that may sound very, very slow, in fact, or 5 may sound very slow to a lot of cEDH deck builders, 1 through 4 is very, very common. I know my Anya deck wins turns 2 to 4, and once I get a Mox Diamond for it, I could potentially have a turn 1 win. And I think if you're going to build at this power level and you're going to invest in this format, just do it responsibly. A lot of these cards are very cost prohibitive, and a $200 piece of cardboard is very, very expensive. But at the same token, I don't think any of these should be banned. And I know every year there's a call for Soul Ring to be banned, and I know people talk about Mana Crypt being banned. And while yes, I can see for the casual perspective why they should be banned, because they often lead to very fast starts, unfun gameplay if they resolve their unfun piece right away. But I also think that they're important in the sense that the game just doesn't go land, pass, land, pass, right. Land, pass, where it kind of breaks the slow play of the game.
Yeah, it makes it like more fun and more interactive. You can do more, which I think is what a lot of Commander players really enjoy is like being able to play all your cool stuff as fast as possible, which is why mana rocks are so important in Commander.
I know I watch a lot of the Command Zone, and we're big fans of them on the show.
Yes.
And I know they recently did a video, maybe not recently, but of the past couple of years, where they talk about, well, why not unban the Moxen? And I know one of the reasons behind it was, well, everyone would need a Mox, and they're very, very expensive. And I don't like the idea of having stuff banned because of price, but I understand it fully. Because the commander or the rules committee has a very tough job, and the thing with cEDH is more players play casually than they play cEDH, and a lot of cEDH players want various things banned. At the very least, we want Flash banned. But beyond that, I think that we shouldn't ban stuff based on price. But I understand why Power 9. Barring Time Twister, is banned because of the price and how unavailable they are. And while you can go to your local Magic Fest if you have one near you and get one, I just think, $200 is quite the investment into cEDH for a Mana Crypt, or even $400 plus for an Imperial Seal now for your black decks that you're playing. I think that the thousands for Alpha, Beta, Unlimited Moxen that's quite the investment into the format. And I think that if they ever consider unbanning them, they shouldn't use price. They should just think, is 0 mana, whatever color you need, turn 1, or even later in the game, because I don't think the Mox is ever banned. I'm bad, sorry. I don't think a Mox is ever bad. I think they're good at any point in the game when you draw them, because it's an additional mana of whatever color you need.
Right.
But I just hope that if they ever have to talk about unbanning Power 9, or maybe not Lotus, but the Moxen, for example, I hope they don't use cost as a reason, because I think us as Magic players in general have quite the inventory, and especially for you guys that have been playing the game for as long as I have been playing. I've been playing since original Zendikar block. I've amassed quite the collection. I feel, and if I really wanted a Mox, I could go get one. But I don't like to do that investment, because I'm not excited to trade my collection in for a Power 9. I mean, I feel like, what do you feel like? Do you think that fast mana rock should be banned based on price, or what do you feel about it?
I feel like that fast mana rocks, they don't necessarily need to be banned, because as a board, it helps to progress those like slow, grindy games at a much higher rate, so you can get more games in. And so it's just not like, as you said, land, and that's all you're saying, because that tends to be like, kind of boring. And also, for you discuss the pricing on them, you are correct. When they are banning them, they shouldn't just look at the price, because yes, not like every college student or like any like person that's like getting into Magic or Commander or wants to play there or play cEDH. I think it's unreasonable, in my opinion, to ban them on price. They should look strictly at power level, because like if you have the card, you have it. If you don't, you don't.
I just think that banning based on price even punishes the players who have already put the investment in to buy the cards.
It's very true, yeah.
And on the topic of cEDH, the most popular card we want banned is a sub, I think, $2 card. I could be wrong. I didn't look up the prices prior to recording this episode. But Flash is not an expensive card, and neither is Protein Hog, since it got reprinted in Masters 25. And we're not asking to ban, like Imperial Seal. We're asking to ban Flash, which, I'm not a big fan of bans being added to the ban list anyways. But I feel like just to strengthen one part of the Commander format, because there's many parts of the Commander format. You could play Star Power with Commander. You can play Emperor, which I think is a similar thing. I'm not 100% familiar with all the various side formats you can play with Commander. But Commander is probably the most versatile format that exists in Magic.
For sure, yeah.
And I think that we should do what we can to encourage healthy gameplay. And I think Commander is the best it's ever been. This is going to be the year of Commander in 2020.
Oh, yes,
and
yeah.
We have a lot of great products that are coming out, and I look forward to seeing what is brought for cEDH. And I hate to be the pessimist and say, but I doubt very much is ever designed for cEDH in mind. But I hope that if they do design anything, it's nothing that's going to be too oppressive or too overly aggressive for our format of competitive EDH. And so what are some things you're looking forward to with the upcoming Commander stuff? Do you want there to be more stuff for cEDH as you're coming from a perspective of more of a casual player? What do you think that cEDH needs more stuff, or what do you think?
I think it would be a fantastic thing for cEDH, like cEDH products to be pushed out there, because like they've I don't believe they've done anything specifically for cEDH, but like that'd be something really exciting and really cool to see what they would come up with. And a couple of months ago, they started doing the command zones for the
Magic Fest, the command zones.
Yeah, right. Which I had recently gone to Columbus and played in one, and it was lots of fun, lots of friendly faces, and it was just a fantastic time there. And it's really cool that they're reaching out to this community of Magic. What do you think, like, they could like plan in the future, or like, what do you think?
I think the Command Fest and the Command Zone are a great step towards acknowledging that this format and all aspects of this format are important to the growth of Paper Magic. And while the pessimistic would say we're moving away from Paper Magic, I think Paper Magic has a long way to go.
Yes.
But not to cut off this point too short, I wanna move towards something that I want to talk about this, and this is my favorite combo. And some of you may be wondering, well, with Anya, what is her win con that I mentioned earlier? Well, she is an all-in World Gorger Dragon deck. Okay, and the combo requires either a Sunscorched Desert or a Comet Storm in hand, a World Gorger Dragon in the graveyard, which is very easy to get there because you have Entomb and Anya.
Yes.
And a reanimate enchantment, such as Animate Dead, which I hope these will all be on screen for you. Animate Dead, Necromancy, or Dance of the Dead. And I'm sure the astute Magic player can figure out you're going to play your Revival enchantment. It's going to bring back the World Gorger Dragon. The World Gorger Dragon is going to exile all of your permanents, including the reanimation enchantment. The World Gorger Dragon has to be sacrificed because its enchantment's gone, and everything you that just got exiled re-enters the battlefield. So now you have another Anya activation. You can add a bunch of mana to your mana pool. And in the case of Sunscorched Desert, it pings an opponent a damage. And Animate Dead, Necromancy, or Dance of the Dead will enter, target the World Gorger Dragon again, and you can loop that combo. I know I talked briefly about I don't like the games that go long. But if I ever feel like I want to play a long game, another deck I play is Brago Stacks. And I recently built this, and it has a lot of proxies, as me and Espen here are both poor college students. So,
yes.
Essentially, Stacks is a strategy that is all about preventing your opponents from doing things inside of Magic the Gathering. My goal on that deck is to make your life miserable. And I hate to say it so candidly, but I really like playing the deck, and our director here today, Hayden, he has a Momir Hackball deck, and a lot of it relies on a lot of activated creatures. So some of my favorite cards to play against him are stuff like Curse Totem, or Pithing Needle, or
Phyrexian
Revoker, and just like constantly punish him for playing the activated creatures. So I think that's a good place to leave off, and we'll head towards the end of the episode now. And some of the topics that we want to cover here is some decks we play or want to play. And I've already mentioned that I play Anya, Madness, Brago Stacks, but my first dip into cEDH was I played Elshatop. And Elshatop's a relatively inexpensive deck. I had a bunch of fetch lands, I traded and got a Mana Crypt, and I made trades with friends to get all the other legal Mox pieces. And essentially, Elshatop's just a fast-paced Storm commander, and I just wanted to play Elsha Storm and ended up with Top. And, casting Synthesize Top off the top of your library for free with a cost reducer is so much fun. And my favorite way to kill people in Commander anyways is Aetherflux Reservoir. And I love doing that. It is so much fun.
God.
And, with Elsha, sometimes, and Espen can attest to this, I'd get so much life where I would just beam every single creature on the board, and then I would just beam you just for the fun of it.
They all died a miserable death.
and so Espen, I know what kind of decks, and I think we've covered a little bit of what you play. You play more of the homebrew style decks. Maybe not the strongest, but definitely not the weakest. I've been playing with you for the past couple years now, and I think sometimes you underestimate how strong your decks are.
Yes, I just like to be creative and just like I like to come up with my own decks. Like a lot of my decks are homebrews. My most recent deck I built though, Tasker, is based off of a list with some budget options because, as stated before, broke college kids. But like I said, I like to just look in my collection, see what I have, throw it together, see what works, see what doesn't work. I feel like that's the fun part of Magic is deck building and coming up with new ideas and new strategies that like maybe no one has ever thought of, or like playing with like 10 different win cons in a single deck.
It's definitely a lot of fun. And so, this being our inaugural episode, some of you guys may ask a few basic questions. What are the goals of the channel? What are some things that you guys are looking to do on this platform of YouTube? And well, first up, I want to announce, although we don't have the base yet, maybe this will be in the future watching this and just disregard what I say. Some Magic Fest we're planning on attending in 2020, and we'll have hopefully some free stuff to give out to promote the channel. We're going to attend Magic Fest Detroit, which is in our home state, and that's on the weekend of March 13th. We also plan on attending Magic Fest Columbus, which is on the weekend of August 7th. And we also want to attend Magic Fest Washington, D.C., which is October 8th, that weekend of. And this doesn't mean there's not other events we might want to travel to, but being able to see the upcoming schedule for the Channel Fireball events, that gives us something to look forward to. We're going to try to make it to as many as we can. And if you see us, we'll have some free swag to get off. And if you say, Christian, Espen, we want to get a game, odds are we're going to buy the Command Zone. And we're going to be chilling out in the Command Zone most of the day and doing stuff with vendors. And as you can see here, I have a signed Christopher Wash Brassman. I know it's a little out of focus, but we'll put Brassman on screen for you. I'm a big fan of signed cards from any artist. And that's my favorite thing to do at Magic Fest is to meet the artists and get stuff signed. And so some topics we're going to be covering. I'll let Espen handle this. So Espen, what kind of topics will we be covering and like stuff about the Magic community we'll be covering on this channel?
We hope to like cover like anything that like is any big news or like anything that we find relevant or that we find interesting. Yeah. Exactly. That we want to kind of give our opinions on or like talk about or like bring to light that like maybe not everyone knows about. Like maybe there's a new combo that like not many people hear or like there's a new development going on with a Magic Festival event. Just like anything like that and a big variety.
Our episodes are going to be structured like this, and we have plans for a lot of different things. We want to provide some behind the scenes on how we make the episodes. You guys might be able to see the studio we're in. We have a very nice studio that we're using right now.
Oh, it's glorious.
Yeah. And we're going to cover a multitude of things. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun for us. And we hope that you guys enjoy listening. Mm-hmm. And so to end today's episode, we're going to talk about some interesting things outside of Magic. Now, we definitely stole this from the Command Zone, and hopefully they don't get mad at us. But we thought this was an interesting thing that we could end the episode with. So as of recording of this episode, it is one day after Christmas. Mm-hmm. And Christmas, as we know, is a very big time of year, an important time of year. And we all get together with our families. And certainly I went back to our hometown because where we go to college at is far away from our hometown. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was a lot of fun. I got to spend time with family, got some gifts, got to give a little bit to my family. And my son was super, super excited about a lot of the gifts he got. My favorite thing I got him was this giant Snorlax plush. Wasn't his favorite. His favorite were the Incredible Hulk things. He's a huge Hulk fan. Espen, how was your Christmas? What did you do?
Just as you said, and I just go back to the family, see everyone, which is really nice. Now I have family all over the state, so I had to make multiple journeys here and there, back and forth, to visit everyone. I think like my favorite thing I gave my girlfriend is getting into Magic, and I got her some new cards, and she's also into comics. I got her some comics, and I was like, hey, maybe you'll like these, and it's always fun to get and also give.
I think it's just interesting the spirit that people are in at this time of year. People are typically very giving and very excited, and you just see some of the best of people. And I think this goes for people in the Magic community as well, but we'll stay off of Magic for right now. And so another thing we want to talk about is, we mentioned before, we're broke college kids, and we got the studio by happenstance. We just finished the fall semester of college.
Yes.
Now, a little bit of background. I have an associate's degree in social work, and right now I'm attending for my bachelor's, and I'm going to finish my master's. I took about 2 years off after I got my associate's, and I'm back in, and I don't know about you, Espen, but fall semester was tough for me. And I know you've been going consistently, but like I took an Asian art class, and me and you had an introduction to business class together.
Oh, no, that was a blast.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it's been a struggle for me, just kind of getting back into the groove. And I'm happy to go into this next semester. I have some philosophy classes, and I have some social work classes coming up, and I'm very excited to go back this semester and really give it a good try, like I did the first semester. And to anyone out there, it's never too late to go back to college. I took 2 years off after having my son, and while I have a very fortunate circumstance of how I'm able to go to college and have watching for my son I don't have to pay for, I also encourage you to do what you can to go back, or even start for the first time. College is an extremely exciting journey. We go to a local university at where we live. It's a lot of fun. And I started out my career in a private college in my hometown, and we just evolved from there. Espen, this is your second year, correct?
Yeah, it's my second year.
And so you have a lot more perspective from a freshman. How was your fall semester? How'd you think it went?
I think my fall semester was pretty solid, just the most important thing for going to college is going to classes. That is one of the biggest things, because that is where you learn most of your material, most of your notes that you'll get on those final exams that you're like, I don't remember this in the book. Yeah. They might have added at last second, and then you just might throw a tantrum. But it's just lots of fun. And some background context for me, I am a sophomore, and I am going into business and hopefully study accounting or human resources. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I started off, when I first met Espen, we met about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now. Yeah. We met at my local game store that I was judging at. And I'll be frank, he didn't seem happy when he talked about college. And he was a computer science major, correct?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
He seemed miserable, and I was looking for an excuse to move down to this area in southeastern Michigan and go to college here. And I said to Espen, hey, how about this? We both go for business. Mm-hmm. We'll do something. We'll open a local game store. I don't know what we'll do, but we'll do something.
We'll do something, yeah.
And my first semester in business, hated it. All the classes were dry. Took a business law class, and I went to Espen, and I said, Espen, I hate this. All my life experiences in social work. I want to go back to social work. Yeah. And so Espen was thrilled about it, though. He's still excited about the business aspect of learning all the new stuff there is with business. Mm-hmm. As he said, HR or accounting, which are two very boring careers to me, but might be exciting to you.
Yeah.
And while maybe social work is not exciting to you, but that's very exciting to me, is a lot of my life experience has been helping addicts and giving back to people in need when I needed it, because I got so much help when I was struggling in my life. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, we're going into winter semester up here. Classes resume next week or the week after. Depending on when this episode goes up, it'll either be going on or about to start.
Right.
Just a quick note. We're going to try to upload weekly. We want to make sure that we have a healthy routine of uploading every Friday. Mm-hmm. I don't know what time we'll upload. Maybe between noon and 5, somewhere between there. And we're very active we're going to try to be very active on social media. We have 3 of our different members handling different aspects. We have a Facebook, which is Brass Gaming, or a page if you like to look us up. We have a Twitter, which I don't know our Twitter handle offhand, so we'll put that at the bottom of the screen here, hopefully. And we have an Instagram. And Espen, you handle our Instagram. Do you know what our Instagram name is? Is it just Brass Gaming, or?
Yeah. We'll make it a real Brass Gaming.
Yeah, we'll put it at the bottom of the screen here along with our Twitter handle. And yeah, we're just really excited to be the new kids on the block. And this episode is probably pretty awkward, and I know we have a lot to work on, but we're excited for what this possibility brings, and we hope you guys are really excited to go along the journey with us.
Yeah.
So for the Brass Gaming Podcast, my name is Christian, and this is
Espen,
and we will see you guys later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.